Hi, and welcome back to That's So Nova. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Today we're going to do another Sotak pattern, the Primrose Pouch. I've been getting some emails asking about this pouch, and I thought, what better time to do it than now? Back to school's around the corner, and a lot of markets and little things are happening where you can make some sales. So today we're going to be making this small. This bag is super cute. You have your two exterior pieces. I'm in this case using webbing. And if you purchase this pattern on page 2, she goes into notes in reference to if you want to either use the pattern piece to create your own handles, which you would fold over, similar to we make any kind of straps, or you can use webbing. I use 3/4 of an inch webbing on this, which I feel like it's so darling and so cute. We get to go have a zipper, and it's just a simple pouch. But I love this pouch because it is so cute with its handles, as well as the handles could be used to get out supplies. My kids are forever putting a whole bunch of stuff in their backpack, and I can see them sticking their pens, their art tools in here, and throw it into your backpack. And because there's a handle, it'll be easier to retrieve the merchandise. As well as this is a nice gift to give somebody, like fill it with candy or sewing notions. I think this is something that is really cute to do. So there's not a lot of components to the pattern piece, as the pattern just fell. We're going to have our fabric B exterior, our fabric A exterior, our two pieces of lining. Again, I'm going to be using webbing. So I'm using cotton webbing, and this is 1 inch. Our zipper and our zipper pull. I'm using this really cool pull from New Moxie. New Moxie is not a new name around here. You know I love New Moxie's hardware because she always has something that's super unique and cool, and I can't beat Hungry Hippo, right? And the fabric comes from New Moxie as well. We have 2 zipper tabs, and that's it. That's all we need. A couple clips, a couple marking tools, and our regular ruler, and we're ready to go. So let's start. If you're going to be making your own handles, follow step 3. Again, it's very much like when we make our straps. You have one piece of fabric, you're going to fold it onto itself, and then you're going to fold it in half. And then you're going to sew 1/8 of an inch down each side. I'm choosing webbing because I feel like it gives it a nice finish. It's done relatively quicker, as well as it's just, I like the way webbing feels. So we're going to take our exterior A pieces, and we are going to make some marks. You're going to make your center mark, which I have a little V here, and you're going to measure out 1/2 of an inch, 1.5 inches to each side on the center mark. I'm using just a cheap Westcott ruler. I get these rulers from Amazon. They have the marks were showing every 1/8 of an inch, and they're flexible. I've sewn over it. It's my favorite ruler. So we're going to put these marks on both of them. We're going to take our handles, and we're going to put them where the handles are facing down towards the exterior bottom, and we're going to tack them on using a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And we're going to put them on the outside of the lines that we made. Make sure your handles are not twisted. So what I do is I like to pull it out, make it straight, bring it on over. And again, I'm going right outside. All right. I'm using 40 weight thread from Waywack, Saba thread or Amon. I'm using a 9014 needle, and I am sewing on my Juki DDL 5550N. It's equivalent to your QVP minis. So again, I'm going to put raw edges meeting raw edges right on the outside of the mark that I made. And back stitching, because there's no trimming on this end, pull this out straight. Make sure it goes again on the outside of the line. All right, so we're done with both panels on that. Now we're going to sandwich together exterior A and exterior B. So you're going to lay that right on top of each other. If you need to, you can place a few clips. And we're going to sew this down at 1 I'm sorry, at a 1/2 inch. Yes, our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch. I always like to back stitch 3 or 4 stitches, and I'll back stitch over the webbing. I mean, it's a smaller bag. It's not going to be, it's not going to by any means hold a lot of weight, but just, you know, it's always good to have, you know, err on the side of caution a little bit. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Cut a couple clips if you need so. If you don't, then let's go for it. Back stitch a couple stitches, 1/2 inch. All right. This blue exterior I have is super sheddy. So we're going to pull this down. And if you can see, the way it wants to lay is this way. Take your bottom exterior A and pull it down. And you can finger press it or take it to the iron. And as you can see, all the excess of the seam allowance is going facing down to the bottom. We're going to top stitch this bottom row on the exterior A with a 1/8 of an inch. And this again will help lock in those stitches for the webbing or your straps. All right, we're going to do this again. See, it's like this. We're going to flip it on it and pull this down. And our seam allowance face towards the bottom of the bag, not up. If you put the seam allowance up, and that's a you sew with it up, it's going to make your handles go down. Okay. Then we're going to go on to page 5. And on page 5, we're going to be using the zippers. Now, I'm going to give you a hint here. There are zipper measurements for a continuous. I actually did 1 inch shorter. So whatever, for me to get a nice clean finish with zipper ends, I measure what this is. This is 9 inches, a little over 9 inches. Then I deduct 1 inch or 1 1/8 of an inch. So that way I can pull out my sides with the 1/2 inch seam allowance without any reservations. So let's say the bag you're working on is 10 inches. I would make my my zipper usually 1 1/8 to 1 1/4 inch smaller. So it will be 3 7/8. I mean, I'm sorry, 8 7/8 versus doing the 10 inch. So that's just something I do. She definitely has zipper measurements in here in the very first page, I believe. On the very second page where they also go over webbing. So I'm going to attach this Hungry Hippo to the zipper. I should have ironed it. I always hate when there is wrinkles. We're going to take our zipper tabs, and they're the only ones that are not interfaced because you don't want to create too much bulk. We're going to fold this down on itself. We're going to sandwich this zipper in, butt up the ends of the zipper right to it. And we're going to take it over to our machine and top stitch it 1/8 of an inch away. I'm just going to trim it nice and flush. Don't trim into your actual zipper because it would be unfortunate. I have done that before and I did cry. So we're going to again fold over our zipper tabs in half, crease it, open it back up, and then fold over to that crease we just made on both sides. Then we're going to take our zipper and butt it up right to the edge, to that crease, the first crease, and fold it over. Take it to our sewing machine and sew it at 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. And then I trim this up to meet it nice and flush. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have all the thread off. I'm going to take my zipper and put them together with a clip, and then I'm going to mark my centers. I'm just using a chalk pencil that I got from Joann's. This is the yellow one because I couldn't find the white one. It would have showed up better. And then I'm going to find my centers on my lining pieces first. I'm just doing a small V. And we're going to go over and start working on page 6. So I'm going to take my lining piece and I'm going to match the center marks to the center marks that we just made. I'm going to sew this down at 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to back stitch because there's no trimming on this point, so it's just a reinforced stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to take one of my new exterior pieces and lay it right on top of each other and line everything up. And you could put a couple clips if it helps. Now we're going to sew this at 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and end. And right when I'm about to get to the zipper, I'm going to put my needle down, move the zipper out of place, and continue. I know it could be time, you're like, hey, if I zipper flip and get past it, but sometimes you get that weird wavy top stitching because of something so simple. All right, so we're going to pull this nice and taut. We're going to take the lining and move it out of the way, and we're going to top stitch this from here to here, from one side to the other, but not top stitch on the lining. So all the seams should be going towards the exterior, and we're just top stitching on the exterior and not the lining. 1/8 of an inch. All right. One done. Then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The other side always gets a little bit more tricky because you're dealing with more bulk, but you got this. Just breathe. You completely got this. Take a couple clips. We're going to base that on at 1/8 of an inch. And see how I didn't move the zipper? If you look really closely, it's straight, 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 and there's a bump because the zipper is making a bulge. That's why if you take the time to move the zipper, it will make your life a whole lot easier. I'm going to move the zipper when I do this final stitching so that the bump won't be as noticeable. Okay, and we're going to sew this on at 1/4 of an inch. Back stitch in the beginning and end. Okay, with the needle down, I'm going to move the zipper, and then I'm going to continue down that 1/4 of an inch. Okay, we're trimming all those threads, and we're going to again top stitch only the exterior. So the lining should be on the opposite side, and you're just sewing over the seam and the exterior. Make sure your handles are out of the way. It's easy to accidentally sew over them. 1/8 of an inch. All right. I'm going to keep this open because our next part is we're going to start putting this bag together. So if you follow along, yours should be on page number 8. And what we're going to do is we're going to want to put the exterior pieces together. So what I like to do is match up exteriors to sides to exterior sides. That clip is not going to work. And then I go and do the same thing on this side. I want to make sure that these line up to the exterior part A matches. So I'm just taking my time, finagling everything to make sure that when I sew around this, everything is a-okay. On your lining piece, we're going to want to have a 3-inch opening. I'm going to do mine at 4. I have fat little hands and and I just want to make sure everything, I can turn it without ripping a stitch. So I'm just going to put a couple clips and we're going to start sewing. All right, and you can increase your stitching around the lining to make it just a little bit bigger. All right. Looking at my marks, I'm going to start at one of my marks. And the back stitch well. And you just make sure that your lining, again, has a slightly bigger seam allowance than your exterior. Then we're about to get onto the exterior. I'm just going to make sure I tuck in those webbings because they want to poke out. All right, so where I have it open, I like to kind of go in to an angle, point my scissors towards where I'm having it open, and it has like a little V. I like to usually take this to my iron and go around and press this open. So when I do close it, it naturally has a crease. So I'm going to just clip it right now while I trim up the edges, the other side, the seam. So I'm going to trim it to about 1/4 of an inch. I'm using pinking shears. You don't have to. You can use regular scissors and do little notches in the rounded areas to help it. Pinking shears, for me, I think it helps with fraying for one thing. It helps distribute the bulk evenly, as well as it's just a cleaner look to me. I'll show you what to do if you don't have pinking shears. If you don't have pinking shears, you would trim to your seam allowance, and then you would just create notches, little V's, and it helps distribute the bulk and make those curves nice and round. Okay, so let's get all this trimming thrown away. I'm going to, again, finger press this really well. And I'm going to open this up, put my hand in, because remember we opened up the zipper, take a corner and birth it. Yay. Okay. So when I'm first birthing, I'm going to stick my hand inside and I'm going to try to get these corners nice and rounded. Then the second thing I'm going to do is get a point turner, a not and sharp object, and try to stick it in to pull out those nice corners so they don't get sunken in. by sewing just the exterior and not the seam, not the lining, it's easier to get cleaner, crisper corners. All right, so I'm just going to take my tool and go around the edges one time before I close it up. And I'm just kind of like brushing this flat non-pointed seam on the seam to help it open up. All right, so now I have this. I'm going to close it up. I'm going to sew, you can do a hand sew so it's an invisible stitch, like a ladder stitch, or you can super glue it shut, or you can just put a little stitch like I'm doing, 1/8 of an inch top stitching from a shop stitching it closed. A couple back stitches. No one's really going to look in the inside, so you can have a little bit of fun. All right. Stick the lining in, corner to corner. Oh my goodness, this is too cute. I got a lint roll. It has like all the little tails that I took off. Okay, so see how nice and clean that is? So by doing the method of not sewing, stitching down the lining, you can have a cleaner curve and a flatter curve. See? Just nice and taut. Nice and taut. And so now we have this cute little Hungry Hippo bag. It is so adorable. It is so adorable. It is the cutest little thing. So that's it. That's all you have to this. Now you can add variations to this after you make it. Maybe if you want to add a slip pocket or another hidden zipper pouch within the pouch, you can put your name tag on this. It'd be really cute with your little name tag. You could put like, oh, one of those like, don't worry, be happy, or Rickroll, whatever label you see around will be really cute. You can have a lot of fun with this pattern. If you don't even want to have the handles, you don't have to do the handles. The shape of this pattern is really unique. It has some beautiful curves and it showcases fabric really beautifully. I'm going to put the link to where you can purchase this pattern, and it is not affiliate, so I just wanted to give you that. If you did like this video, if you can comment and put a thumbs up, it helps the channel tremendously. If you're like, oh, Shanova, you solved all my worries, I will put my Ko-fi view information in the first comment as well as in the description box if you want to purchase a coffee from me. So I will be doing another tutorial real shortly. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you guys all later. Happy sewing. Bye.